Thousands of believers across the country became part of the Black Friday celebration on the eve of Orthodox Easter, a special day which marks the death of Jesus Christ on the cross. Prime Minister Edi Rama conducted a meeting with supporters of the Socialist Party in Elbasan earlier in the framework of the Municipality We Want tour, all while acknowledging the quick approaching June 30th elections. Expert Buyar Bendo argues that the draft law on the investment corporations, which is expected to be discussed in Parliament, is still unclear and gives the government the right to usurp public property. It's 6 o'clock on Saturday, the 27th of April, 2019. Good evening and thank you for tuning in to rtvора's English edition. My name is Oliver, bringing you the only daily update of the local Albanian news translated into English. Well, Orthodox believers across the country celebrated on Black Friday, a day which symbolizes the commemoration of the suffering of Jesus Christ and his death on the cross. Thousands of believers and visitors were part of the Korcha ceremony where 7 epitaphs were joined. Under the sound of funeral music, they overtook the city's 2 main boulevards and then returned to the Resurrection Christ Cathedral. There is also a re-entry of the passage under the epitaph, which many believers associate with prayers for more health and prosperity. Thousands of citizens who, despite holding religious beliefs, followed the ritual of extracting the epitaph in the streets of Berat. Many other similar ceremonies were held nearby Orthodox churches around the country. On Sunday, Orthodox believers are to celebrate the day of Christ's resurrection. Moving on now to our next story, supporters of the Democratic Party have blocked the road in Elbasan, where the Prime Minister Edi Rama was expected to pass earlier today. The incident sparked tension between protesters and police officials who tried to remove the protesters from impeding the road. Prime Minister Rama conducted a meeting with supporters of the Socialist Party in Elbasan in the framework of the Municipality We Want tour, which has been expanding into various regions across the country. Moreover, former MPs of the Democratic Party stood alongside protesters in their attempt to prevent the Prime Minister from entering Elbasan. Many citizens in Elbasan have declared that the Prime Minister is not welcomed in their city, as he didn't keep any of the promises given to them during the last election. In a response given by the head of government, Rama said that the blockade was an action performed by MPs who engage in heavy drinking, and declared that former opposition MPs should respond to the people who voted for them, stating, "Drunk MPs who engage in such shameful behavior, how could a political party which aims at governing our country block thousands of citizens and then turn around and say that they're fighting for democracy?" From the city of Elbasan, Rama stated that the June 30th elections will indeed be held. He also spoke about acceding to absolute power by taking control of all the municipalities in Albania. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister confirmed that this Saturday, Glendjen Latja will officially throw in his candidacy for the mayor of Elbasan under the Socialist Party. He also thanked the former SP mayor of Elbasan, Chazim Sedini, for his 10 years of work in the city's municipality. "They want us to come and say, 'Come and get what you want,' but we can't do this whenever there are elections. I have heard even from socialist supporters that the elections will be postponed. I want to say that on June 30th, there will be a huge feat in Elbasan, and citizens will then thank Sedini and Latja," said Rama. In his determination for holding elections on June 30th, Rama again called on the chair of Elbasan's Democratic Party to sit down and discuss on how to move forward. The new political party, known as the Democratic Conviction, led by Astrit Patosi, has officially been registered for June 30th elections, even though the court verdict has not yet come to an end. With 4 votes in favor of majority representations and with a vote against by the chair, Clement Zguri, the Central Election Commission accepted the request of the Democratic Conviction group. In support of his vote against, Zguri gave this argument, stating, "It is the law that gives us limits. In the elections of 2015, the same sort of case was dealt with, and it was placed in the non-registration group of that subject," said Zguri. The Shkodra 2015 party is the precedent that Zguri refers to, for which, at that time, the Central Election Commission voted 7-0, refusing the registration of a contestant in the election. with the only argument being that the court's decision serves as a final verdict even beyond legal deadlines for party registration. In the decision of the Central Election Commission, it is argued that if the court's decision becomes final beyond the deadline set for registration, any political entity cannot be accepted into the contest. Meanwhile, for the new Democratic Conviction Party, 4 citizens complained that the subject had falsified signatures for its creation during a session at the appellate court. The Central Election Commission recorded 7 political entities, bringing the number of parties that will participate in the June 30th elections up to 42. Now on to the news out of the Bank of Albania. After the boom of construction permits, apartment prices have subsequently increased. The Bank of Albania, in the Financial Stability Report for the second half of 2018, finds that housing prices have been increased by 5% compared to the first half of this year. But despite the rise in prices, the information obtained by the construction companies and brokers operating in the real estate market shows that there has been even more real estate sales than expected. The Albanian capital once again continues to hold the main weight in the report, and the sales coming out of the Tirana area, including the center, periphery, and out of the city areas, increased by 3.8% from the previous period. But there is still no such similar situation in the country's many districts and coastal zones where sales volumes have dropped. The Bank of Albania notes that despite the fact that real estate loan interest rates have increased by about 54%, most residential properties and those for commercial use are bought with bank loans. On the other hand, the demand for obtaining a mortgage loan has increased. The construction loan surplus has increased by 8.7% compared to the end of the first half of this year, as well as the quality of real estate loans, while the ratio of non-performing loans has decreased. But how long do you need to sell real estate in Albania? According to the Bank of Albania, the average time of sale across the country during the second semester of this year was on average 10.9 months, or about 1 month longer than in the previous 6 months. For Tirana and other areas, the sales time has increased by about 1 to 2 months, while for the coastal areas, the selling time has been reduced by about 2.5 months. Expectations for future prices and sales continue to remain optimistic, albeit at lower levels compared to the 2 previous half years. Following the footsteps of the opposition, many experts have come out against the new draft law, which provides for the creation of an investment corporation. Economy expert Bujar Bendo emphasizes that with these legal changes, the government intends to garner the right of usurpation of public property by giving priority to PPP concessions. The draft law on the investment corporation creates an overlap with the Albania Investment Development Agency, which has the same function. Despite the claim that the investment corporation has been created to attract more foreign investors, Bendo underlines that corruption is the main obstacle in this regard. Currently, the draft law on the investment corporation has been submitted to Parliament, where it is expected to pass in committee discussions. And finally tonight, just a few days after the government approved the decision to subsidize milk farmers 10 lek per liter, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Blendi Chuchi, invited farmers to benefit from the scheme. Minister Chuchi was in Skuth, in one of the biggest factories around the country for milk processing. I believe that as farmers, you will be part of the scheme that we approved to reimburse those with 10 lek for each liter of milk they sell. Once again, I'd like to take this opportunity to call upon farmers to come to the Agriculture and Rural Development Office to register yourselves and receive a reimbursement, said Minister Chuchi. About 1.1 million tons of milk are produced across the country per year, while the entire industry circulates around 600 million euros annually. Currently, there are several Albanian companies which export the cheese made in Albania to the United States of America. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of rtvora, thank you and have a great weekend.